Hello everyone, myself Pavitra Vyas from Department of Information Science and Engineering, Sri Venkateshwara College of Engineering. As of now, I am pursuing in my 6th SEM. In this session, I am going to explain about the architecture of file structure. Before moving on to what is a file structure, let's define a file. A file is a data structure on secondary storage which acts as a non-volatile container for the data. Non-volatile meaning retaining the data even if there is a break in the power supply. Even when the computer gets turned off, the data is not lost, it is retained. File is a name which has been given to any kind of the document which is stored in any type of storage device which can be read by the computer. A file is identified by a name and then followed by a file name extension. What is a file structure? A file structure is a pattern for arranging the data in a file. It is a combination of representation for data in files and of the operations for accessing the data. The heart of file structure architecture or the design. Disks are slow when compared to the RAM or the ROM present in the system. It takes more time to access the data from the disk when it is compared with the RAM or the ROM. On the other hand, they provide enormous capacity to hold the data at much lesser cost. Thereby, it has some advantages as well as some disadvantages too. Disks are non-volatile and it preserves the information even when the system is turned off. The data is not lost here. It is retaining the data even if there is a break in the power supply. The main driving force behind the file structure design is relatively slow access time of the disk and its enormous non-volatile capacity. Good file structure design will give us access to all the capacity of the disk without making our application spend a lot of time waiting for the disk. A file structure is the representation of organizing the data on the secondary memory in a particular fashion. It consists of some particular fashion so that retrieving the data becomes very easy. And improvement in file structure design make an application hundreds of times faster. Now let's move on to the primary goals for design or the architecture of the file structure and algorithm. Firstly, minimize the number of disk access. If possible, transfer all the information which is needed in one access. Then group the related information physically so it can be accessed together. When we group some information in a particular disk or a file, it can be accessed together very easily. Secondly, maximize the space utilization. Use compression techniques wherever possible. Apply defragmentation procedures. Defragmentation meaning rearranges the fragmented data so that your disks and drives can work more efficiently. Avoid data redundancy. Redundancy meaning having several copies of the same data in the database. If we have the same copies of data in the database, it occupies more space. Here are some problems and concerns with related to the file structure. Firstly, the file data is frequently dynamic It is not static, it is dynamic. It changes from time to time. Designing the file structures for changes adds complexity. Typical file sizes are growing. Solutions which work for small files may be inadequate for large files. File structures, algorithms, and the data structures must work together. The diagram here represents the file structure. That is, there is a main file. The root is nothing but the main file. That main file consists of two subfiles, that is the blues and the reds. The blues files consist of three more subfiles, that is nothing but the light, dark and the mixed. Second, the red file, which is a subfile of the root, has a subfile too. Here is a short history of file structure design. The general goals in design or the architecture of file structures. Ideally, we would like to get the information we need with one access to the disk. If it is impossible to get the data in one access, we want structures that allow us to find the target information with few access as possible. The file structures should be grouped together so that the large amount of required data can be fetched by a single access. Earlier, files were stored on tapes. Access to these tapes was sequential manner. The cost to access the tape grew in direct proportion to the size of the file. As files grew and as storage devices such as disk drives became available, indexes were added to the file. Index consists of a list of keys and corresponding pointers to the files. This type of accessing the files could search the files quickly. As the index file grew, they too became difficult to manage. In early 1960s, the idea of applying tree structures emerged. But this has also resulted in long searches due to uneven growth of the trees as a result of addition and deletion of the records. In 1963, researchers developed an elegant self-adjusting binary tree structure called the AVL tree for storing the data in memory. An AVL tree is another balanced binary search tree. It is named after their inventors Adelson, Waleski and Landus. They were the first dynamically balanced trees to be proposed. The problem with this binary tree structure was that dozens of accesses were required to find a record. The solution to this problem were emerged in the form of B-tree. B-tree grows from the bottom up as records are inserted. In computer science, a B-tree is a self-balancing tree data structure which maintains the sorted data, and it allows the searchers sequential access, insertions and deletions in logarithmic time. A B-tree generalizes the binary search tree, allowing for the nodes with more than two children. B-tree provided excellent access performance except that the file couldn't be accessed sequentially. This problem was solved by introducing B plus trees. But all the above methods need more than one disk access. Hashing approach promised to give require data in one disk access but performed badly for large amount of data. Hashing is nothing but it is a process of transforming any given key or a string of characters into another value. Extendable dynamic hashing approach is proposed to improve the performance of hashing algorithm. Here I complete with my topic. Thank you. Have a nice day.